This is the captain. We have a little problem with our entry sequence, so we may experience some slight turbulence and then explode.
There is no spoon?
Why a spoon?
Because it's dull, you twit. It'll hurt more.
Welcome to the party, pal!
You can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Hello and welcome to Somebody Told Me to Watch This, a movie podcast for those in fear of credibility. If this is your first time with us, I'd like to say welcome. If you're returning, I'd like to say thank you. But as always, if you learned anything from us, it was purely accidental. I'll be your captain today, Mike D, on this shipwreck of cinema. And along with me, I brought a crew of salty sea dogs. First off, we have the rum runner herself, Jenny D.
Hello.
And the man who forgot where we docked the ship, Janos P.
Ahoy.
And last, but always least, the woman we told to man the cannons, Britt K.
Kaboom!
This day, we sail for Cutthroat Island, a movie that took down a studio along with itself in one of the biggest box office bombs on record. Released back in 1995, well before Pirates of the Caribbean, this throwback was set to bring back the pirate movies of old. But it died in theaters. But did it really deserve the moniker it has to this day? So first off, who liked this movie? I mean, actually enjoyed everything it had to offer.
I liked this movie.
Really?
Yes, I liked it. Like, it was cheesy in good ways. I liked it.
Cheesy in good ways.
There were some things that were overdone. Like, it's understandable why it flopped in the box office, but I liked it.
How about you, Noosh? You watched it with her. Do you share the same?
Yeah, no, it was enjoyable. For the 90s, for back then, the cheesiness compared to what a lot of us see now, for it to be more of a comedic fashion, it actually wasn't too bad. There were a lot of parts that both of us were like, the hell just happened?
Did it seem overly long to everybody?
It did seem long and drawn out, yes.
Yeah.
Some parts seemed a little exaggerated. Some seemed very hastily thrown together and not cut well, some of the fighting scenes. But for a 90s movie, it was pretty good.
And Jenny, what did you think of it? I was watching it with you, and I think we share the same aspect of it.
I mean, it wasn't horrible, but I thought it was cheesy, like, not cheesy in a good way, like cheesy in a bad way.
What, like the one-liners?
Oh yeah, like a lot of the puns were just really terrible. That poor woman just had the worst lines in the entire movie.
Poor Gina Davis.
Yeah, they were terrible lines. It was horrible. Some of it was really badly written, too. It was just, and very poorly acted.
Well,
she was not very good.
This movie did have 4 different writers on it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No wonder.
I think including the director, because the director was also with Gina Davis. They were actually married at the time of this filming. But before I get into more details of that, how did you like Gina Davis?
I like Gina Davis. I liked her in the other movies that she's been in, like Beetlejuice and A League of Their Own. I actually had no idea she was in any other movie besides those two. I had never
You've never seen A Long Kiss Goodnight?
No, I had never heard of Cutthroat Island, so this is the first time I had seen it. I liked it.
You liked her as that character. Did you think...
I don't know, I thought it worked.
Like,
yes, the one-liners that they forced on her, like...
I got your balls.
Were a bit much. If they took out the really bad one-liners, her character would have been better.
Yeah, but I think that was them trying to make a comedic spin in the movie. So,
did it feel like they were all an afterthought?
Yeah.
They might have been, yeah, definitely.
Like, what did you think they were going for at the beginning? Like, instead of something so comedical. Like, I looked up IMDb to describe this movie, like, pirate movie, adventure movie. It is a romantic comedy, action, adventure film. So it literally has 4 different classifications.
I think it fits each one.
So would that be summed up as a pirate film?
Yeah. Most pirate films usually have a romantic interest. The only one I don't think really had... Well, even
How
the
many
Muppets.
pirate- how
even
many-
the Muppets with Miss Piggy and Kermit the Frog had your romantic interest in there.
But honestly, what movie doesn't have some sort of romance twist in it? Pirates of the Caribbean had romance in it. It had comedic moments, but would you call Pirates of the Caribbean a romantic comedy? No, you would not. So
It depends on who
Sometimes,
wants
yeah.
to do the tagging of the film.
So
Well,
I wouldn't call it a romantic comedy.
back to Gina Davis. Do you think... It looked like she did all her own stunts in this film.
That was surprising. Go her.
Yeah, there was a few parts though you could tell they made some very she's our main actress.
Obvious green screen cuts.
Green screen cuts. There was one scene when she was jumping through the wooden planks,
The scaffolding.
the scaffolding, and you could tell that gravity doesn't work that way as she slowly descends down.
The wires.
Mary Poppins right through that.
The wires.
Did you think she was actually attractive enough for a leading lady? Or did she kind of, I thought throughout this film, I'm like, wow, she's really pretty. And then other parts, I was like, wow, she looks hideous. And it, happened, every other, because her jawline is, ridiculous.
Well, that is the magic of cosmetics in general. You could say that to any woman.
So
Do you think she was, how do I want to sum this? I don't want to seem like, bastard, she's not pretty enough to do this role. I like Gina Davis. I really like her in A Long Kiss Goodnight. That's one of my guilty pleasure movies. I know it's not that good, but I love her in it. And in this movie, there's parts of it where I found her very attractive, but there's other parts where she, the lighting or something, the cinematography to capture her was terrible.
well, would you want to say that you would want to have scenes where she looks pretty, and then the other scenes where you want her to be this is a character that's actually human and getting beaten up?
No, not that. I loved how she got the crap beat out of her, because that shows actual struggle through it. I'm saying, in almost the same scene, she looks exactly the same, but in one portion of it, she looks great, and then they cut to a different angle, and she looks terrible.
Okay.
Well, yeah, that could probably just be the bad lighting, bad camera angles.
So
It is the 90s.
But it was her husband. You think he would go around and be like, all right, I need to find the best for my woman.
Just because you're the director doesn't mean you're good at doing the lighting guy's job.
True, but you have to have some control over everything. And the final shots.
Yeah.
What did you think of her, Jenny?
I don't think I really liked her that much. As a pirate, I don't think she was very believable. As far as the looks, yeah, she looked like a woman pirate. You don't really expect a woman pirate to be, ravishing beauty, So, at least
But that wanted poster was
Yeah, that wanted
that was Playboy
poster
material.
was a little, maybe exaggerated a little bit, because she didn't look like that at all. Even when she was standing right next to the wanted poster, I was like, how can you even tell that that's the same person?
You also have to keep in mind that they did not have cameras back then, and they went by
Descriptions.
verbal descriptions for wanted posters, very much in the way that we make criminal sketches like we do now. You get the person, you sit them down with the guy that does the sketches at the police office. What do you think the guy looked like? You draw a picture, it may or may
She
not
looked
look like
amazing.
them at all.
Yeah, but they looked at that poster and they were like, that's her! That's her! They
That's
pointed
her
around.
exactly!
Yeah, but I don't know. I didn't think it was even...
Yeah, that was a bit of a
Close.
stretch as far as that. But,
Well, it was fresh in everyone's minds, because if you were to look at those other wanted posters and everything else, that thing looks like it was just printed off that morning.
Yeah. And
Could be.
I didn't understand how I didn't think she was that famous of a pirate at the beginning. I didn't think she was, like, that notorious, because it didn't seem like it. Like, her father was the captain and everything, but she had the wanted poster with a gigantic bounty. And throughout the film, it seemed like she was trying to become a pirate.
Yeah, she was trying to win the respect of the people that her father was leading, and the thing that I found interesting was it was her wanted photo, not her and her dad.
Yeah, or her dad or part of this crew. It was just the lady pirate. She already had a reputation.
Yeah, but if you remember in the beginning when she was sleeping with the trotter guy, he said to her, "Oh, everybody's looking for you." Like he said that in the beginning.
That's true.
That is true. I missed that because it just didn't seem like, what did she do to become so notorious? We never find that out.
Really find that out.
Just being a pirate in general. Just the fact that she was a woman makes it more.
But she was on the same
exotic.
True,
I guess.
True. She probably just stood out because of being a woman, and a lot of times in that, culture or whatever, you're not going to find women on the pirate ship.
No, women sit at home and do silly things like master the skill of embroidery and learning how to pour tea.
Right. Well, you got half of that down.
Quiet you.
Well,
she is knitting as we speak.
She's crocheting.
Crocheting. There's a difference.
But not
Please
only...
don't take up piracy for my. My gaff.
I just might, and then I will rob you blind.
But not only that, women they weren't on ships. It was bad luck to have a woman on a ship. And the fact that she was on the ship and was so well received probably made her...
Yeah, that's what I always thought she was part of her father's crew. So I didn't understand why they didn't want her to lead. If she was always there, had this big notoriety, so she's had success... Why didn't they were just like, okay, we believe you?
Well, that's another thing. It seems like she really wasn't part of her pirate's crew.
Yeah.
Because the crew had to come and find her. Like, we've been looking for you, is what the two guys said when they finally found her.
So she doesn't have a crew. So
what crew was she working with? What ship was she captaining? If she was this notorious pirate on her own, so that's a plot hole right there in and of itself. And the crew was really open to accepting her right off the bat, even though it is bad luck to have a woman on board. Whether or not it's your captain's daughter, who cares? It's still bad luck. They're still very superstitious. So, yeah, they just kind of ignored that little thing.
How did you like her acting? I found it very hit or miss. Sometimes it was like, okay, she's into this, and then other times it seemed like she was almost choking up those lines.
It was a little lazy.
Yeah.
I think it depended on what she was being told to do. Like, I think she liked to do some of the one-liners. She almost seemed to take some kind of...
But she almost smiled out of like, oh my god, I'm actually saying this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like, this is the line I need to say? Yes. This is the action I need to do? Yes. I have your balls.
Yeah. All the physical stuff she seemed to enjoy, like the cart chase when she was running through the top, which they put a lot of needless slow-mo into that scene. Like, she jumped up to the top, and then these horses are running, and for some reason she's tripping through all those people, and yet she keeps up with the horse carriage that is going, like, as fast as it can, full tilt.
Yeah, and without her being on there, so there's actually less weight now, and she managed... I wonder how many takes it took for them to have her roll down and then
land on the seat.
Yeah.
That was good timing, though.
So does anybody want to take a guess? Do you think she wanted to film this movie?
I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say it probably took a lot of convincing from her husband to do this.
Jenny?
I don't know.
Did she look like she wanted to do it? Do you think she wanted to be there?
Well, like I said, I didn't think she was very good with the acting end of it, which I guess could have come from not being passionate about it, not wanting to be a part of this film.
Noosh got it right on the head. She did not want to do this movie. She agreed to do it because Michael Douglas was supposed to be Shaw instead of Matthew Modine. And then Michael Douglas backed out of it. Then she wanted to back out of it, but the studio had her under contract, so she couldn't. So she did this movie even not wanting anything to do with it, without Michael Douglas.
That's interesting.
And I think you can definitely tell some of the lines
Yeah,
were very poorly delivered. Like in the beginning, one of the ones that you and I, Mike, were commenting about when the father was shot and was like in the water, and he says to let her go, he says to her, let me go, and she goes, never, and just said it so like, so like dry, and like there was no emotion.
Yeah.
And she was just like,
she cared as much for her father as we did.
Yeah.
And I was just like, he shot in the chest.
Yeah.
You don't really survive that. And later she's like, I've seen you survive worse. It's like,
what's worse?
Yeah, he got shot in the chest.
Well, he does have a tattoo on his head, somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, somehow it was like inside his scalp.
Yeah,
Well,
which she...
No, that's easy enough to do. You shave your head, you get the tattoo, the hair grows back.
Well, yeah, you ain't... How did he hide that? Like, he's walking around on deck, he takes off his hat. Oh, Matt.
Yeah.
So everybody knew where he hid it.
Well, he only had a third of it, and it was written in, like, backwards script that people assumed was Latin.
It was Latin. We
So,
had the
it was
same
Latin.
conversation. Part of it was Latin, and the other part was backwards. It was weird.
Yeah, so people
It was
couldn't-
all Latin. It was
so
just
people
written
couldn't read it.
Oh.
reversed.
People couldn't read it. It was reversed.
It was reversed
It was
Latin?
only a third.
Okay.
It was only a third of the map.
Yes.
And it was an island that was uncharted. So even if you were walking around with it displayed for the time that it was exposed on your head and only your crew saw it,
But there's easier ways to hide a map.
every once in a while, if you left your hat or your bandana off your head, who cares?
Yeah, but I mean, the other guys didn't take it to that extreme. They're like,
know,
I
the
carved it on wood. It's on a
the
piece
one
of
guy's
paper.
like, I put it in a barrel.
This guy's like, I want to be different. Shave me bald, boys.
I will never lose it.
All right. Speaking of Matthew Modine and his leading role, how did we like him?
He reminded me a lot of... No,
This is Shaw, by the way.
Yeah. He reminded me a lot of As You Wish.
Yes.
Carrie Elwes.
Wesley
Yes.
from The Princess Bride.
Was he that
Carrie
charming?
Elwes.
I agree.
actually thought it was him
I
at
kinda
first,
did
but
too.
I'm just like, the voice kind of sounds like him, but wait, the face isn't right? No, that's not him. Who the hell is this?
Yeah, I kind of did think it was him too. In fact, I was going to ask you, Mike, if that's who it was.
No.
Was it?
It seemed like he took a lot of inspiration from him, especially as far as like Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Like the look, as far as
The
definitely the
hair and
acting.
the goatee and all.
Well, did you find him charming, like a good leading man, or was he kind of just, he fit the bill, but he was kind
I found him a
of...
little annoying.
He was more of a fish out of water, in my opinion. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do. Yep. Okay then. All right. I'm gonna just wing it.
I kind of thought he was pretty mediocre. He didn't really stand out.
Yeah, he kind of made scenes drag on, but the movie dragged on. There was at one point where I paused it halfway through. They were already on the island. They were like, you could see that they were close to the treasure. They had all the map. I paused it. I was like, there's an hour left of this movie. And we're already at the treasure island and like getting to the treasure. I did not know how they were going to fill an hour, but they managed.
They did.
Not well, but they managed. Like a lot of needless scenes where you would see like them walking or them hiding, and it just...
Or when they were climbing up to get to when they were on the ship, like towards the end.
Oh,
and
yeah.
when the
Everything
she
was in
fighting
real
her
time.
uncle, and they were climbing up to get to the crow's nest.
Yeah, we
And
even
it
saw
just-
that.
Why,
It's like,
why even
Yeah.
do you need to go up to there? Like, why can't you just have a sword fight on the deck of the ship?
It's more dramatic up there.
Or just have them start climbing, cut to her crew reacting, and then cut back to them where they're on the mast already. Instead of
Right,
we're watching in
yeah.
real time every single rain.
Speaking of the epic climb, she seemed to survive falls from extreme heights surprisingly
time.
well.
She must have
Yes,
been-
with
definitely very well.
with little to no injury.
And she fell a lot. Now that you bring that up, she must have
magic.
fallen
She fell
like 7 times in this movie.
She fell at least 6 stories through wooden scaffolding, got up, walked it off. She fell from
The cliff,
probably
with the
about the
ropes.
same height off the crow's nest. Got up, no problem. Baby limped a little bit.
She was
no
even
problem.
She was even shot, and we were like, "Did they remember she was shot?"
Yeah, we said the same
thought-
thing.
we thought,
We're like,
okay, maybe
10
she
minutes
just-
later, they were like, oh, she's shot. We gotta remember that.
We thought maybe she just got grazed.
Yeah.
Maybe it just passed. Maybe she just got a through and through, and it just kind of hit the surface of her hip until she like pulled her hand away and blood on the map. And oh, okay, yeah, the bullet is still in there. All right.
Yeah, we
she's
thought they
just
forgot
still-
about it too. It's like, oh, they forgot about that scene. And then like 10 minutes later, they break, oh yeah, she's shot.
Yeah.
It's like the adrenaline that a person can produce when they're in intense situations is impressive. However, most movies never take that into consideration. So this would be like the one exception where it's the adrenaline just coursing through where it's like, oh, I fell down, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm shot, I'm fine.
And even then, she's laying in the bed perfectly fine, just sipping on rum.
Yeah, ready to do it too.
Sipping on rum while the guy is digging in her hip with a pair of tweezers.
No, I didn't even think he had to. Oh yeah,
He
he
had
did.
a very small
yeah.
pair of
Something, yeah.
tweezers.
For his mustache hair, I believe.
Yes.
So, speaking of that doctor, I think he's a doctor. They never,
Doctor.
like they
No,
say,
I
he
think-
just,
They made it a point to point out later that
He's
he's,
not a
actually
doctor.
not
Isn't
a
that
doctor.
really a doctor? Not really.
He's just a con man, that's all. So he was just trying to convince everybody that he was a doctor.
and then he's hiding the map.
But he really
pretty
does
badly.
know Latin.
Yes, he really did know Latin, apparently.
Yeah, so we never
Which
found
that kind
out
of
any of his
seemed-
background, what he really was.
Kind of seemed
Yeah.
weird that
Con
he
man.
wasn't a doctor, but did know Latin. That kind of...
And
didn't-
also
there
knew
wasn't-
fencing,
Yeah. That's,
but never got to the killing part.
but, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I
But-
think it would have been believable that he would have known Latin being a doctor, but then they made it a point to point out later that he was actually not
Yeah.
a doctor.
Like
so
he
he
had
just
some-
randomly knew Latin.
Yeah. Speaking of the fencing, you know that's the only reason he was really hired? That was the main point. He knew fencing. And he used it for one scene.
Yeah, once.
Yeah, he hardly used it.
Now,
He wasn't even involved in the last fight at all, was
One
he?
scene for all of 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so was he brought in because he was training other people for sword fighting?
Nope.
Or just, hey,
He auditioned and he knew fencing, and that kind of pushed him over the edge. And now I'm going to go over who was, like, he was like the final choice. Meaning they tried to get a bunch of other people. I'm going to go through a couple of those people. Stop me when you think the movie would be vastly different. Tom Cruise was up for this role. He didn't want it, but that's who they wanted.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
Which is a completely different movie.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Like, Gina Davis would be then the sidekick instead of the other way around, probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
We already heard of Michael Douglas. Probably the same thing. Keanu Reeves was considered for his role.
I could see that still going now with her as the main character.
Maybe even like 50-50 focus.
Well,
'Cause
Keanu,
Keanu wasn't that big.
Not at
Had
this
the,
point.
Had the Matrix happened yet at that point?
I
No.
don't believe so.
No?
This is 95. Matrix was like
He
2000.
still only
Yeah.
had Excellent Adventure under his belt?
Excellent Adventure and Dracula.
Okay, then yes, focus still would have been on Gina Davis.
Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson.
That would have been interesting. I like Liam Neeson.
But too old. Like, that's thinking of
But
that.
that's the
Gina
thing.
Davis was older than. She seemed a lot older than Shaw.
Not a lot older.
But Liam Neeson would have been like way above her at this point, wouldn't he?
Well,
What
no,
was
in
he
the
in?
in the
He-
90s, we're used to seeing older Liam Neeson because his acting career didn't really take off until he was older in like
Yeah.
the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, that's when he had Rob Roy, and then eventually Taken, which
Schindler's
shot him
List,
through the roof.
and then
Star Wars Menace.
Star Wars.
Yeah. I'm sorry for Star Wars.
Yeah.
But also you have to think that her husband was the director.
Yeah.
So he would most likely want her to be in that role so that it could establish his or her career further. So you wouldn't want anything to really impact any of that.
All right. What about the next is Jeff Bridges? Is anybody familiar with Jeff Bridges?
Bridges.
He was in R.I.P.D.
Now, he would have been much older.
Yes.
Yes, he would have been much older. That would have been weird.
I wouldn't be able to see him. Well,
he was in Tron. That showed his acting chops.
yeah. No, I'm just trying to think.
And he was the dude.
If he would be still considered a romance then. The age difference have been able to still allow that.
To
I
be
think
honest,
so. Gina Davis could be young or could be old. Like, her look, like, kind of disguises her age a lot.
To be honest, though,
she could play older or younger.
the romantic part of it kind of was like so minuscule. I mean, there was hardly any romantic part of it at all in this movie.
Well, they did do it in the end. They made
There
sure
was one,
that we knew that.
there was one kiss, and then
there
there
was-
and then there
yeah.
was a oh hey come to my cabin, and the movie's over.
Yeah, I mean, it was so minuscule. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it would have been a big
Any
deal if he was
difference.
older. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then they just would have not had that kiss, which was so unimportant.
Could you imagine it with Charlie Sheen? Because he was up for it.
Maybe it would have improved the comedy a little bit.
You know, Charlie Sheen
know.
wasn't that bad in the 90s. Like, I kind of remember him from The Three Musketeers.
But he played the straight man in that. He was the priest of all things.
I don't know, it would have been interesting with Charlie Sheen.
How about Michael Keaton? Batman.
Oh, God, I think that would have been awful.
No, Michael Keaton has had some decent comedic roles. Beetlejuice, for example.
I don't know.
He did all family films before Batman.
Yeah.
Which
Multiplicity.
that was after, and that was kind of terrible. And what is it, Jack Frost, the one where he's
Yep.
a possessed snowman?
I don't know.
He has range, damn it.
Yeah.
Tim Robbins. Shawshank Redemption.
I have only seen him in Shawshank Redemption, so I have no idea.
He's always like
can't
supporting
really have
characters.
An opinion about him for that.
Daniel Day-Lewis, maybe? Nothing.
That would be... With his method acting, then, he would be stealing things off set.
And last but not least, Ray Fiennes. Or Ralph Fiennes.
Ooh,
Oof.
that would have been interesting.
What was he in? I can't recall off the top of my head.
He was Lord Voldemort in Harry Potter.
Oh.
He was the rich love interest in Maid in Manhattan.
No. Forgive me, I did not see the movie.
And he was
He's a British actor.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he was Amon Goeth in Schindler's List. The guy that just liked to randomly shoot people in the concentration camp.
Well done.
All right then. So it would have been a much happier movie.
He's got an interesting range. He goes back and forth
Yeah.
between villain and good guy.
So do we think that any of those people would have brought something better than who they settled for?
I guess my question wouldn't be is so much would that actor have been better for that script, but would that actor have sat down and said, we're rewriting the script?
Again.
Right. Because that has happened. You would have some actors who get brought in, and as they're going through, they say, I'm not doing this, we need to rewrite it this way.
Yeah, like Tom Cruise would definitely take the spotlight, and Gina Davis's role would have been scaled back.
Right.
If I had to guess.
Right. Yeah, which I think is maybe the benefit of using somebody who's not as well known with this Matthew Modine.
Yeah, but they wanted anybody but him by the looks of it.
But, I mean, you know, it kind of is a good dichotomy because, you know, she's able to do the leading things and he's not kind of like, you know, upshadowing or upstaging her.
Yeah, he felt more like supporting cast instead of a co-star.
Right.
No.
Which I agree. She was definitely more of a supporting cast than a co-star. I don't know if that's how it was meant to be, but that's definitely how it came across.
And what about one of the other supporting guys? move on to the villain, Dog. How did you like him?
It was
interesting.
I really... The one issue I had with him, he never really seemed menacing.
Yeah, he just kind of was a little...
Creepy uncle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he seemed bored.
Yeah, the
with
whole
the
movie
whole
he was
thing.
very
He
bored.
seemed bored, and yeah, creepy uncle is a great way to describe it.
Because every
Very-
5 minutes
yeah.
he
Very
would remind
creepy
you that he was
uncle.
the uncle.
Yeah.
Especially towards the end. Join me, we can rule the world type deal. And it's just like,
And again...
join you how far, dude?
Yeah.
And again, families and on a thing, or I would say more of a platform, sword fights, they just decided to do, hey, let's do Star Wars.
Kind of towards the end, they had that. What's with him? I'm trying to think of something that, like, he had a couple good lines, but he never felt like he was in the same movie as everybody else.
No.
He had that one part where they brought the British crew on board, and he's like, I need to study. And then he just started talking
Oh, yeah.
as regal as he could.
That was funny.
Like he was learning how he should behave in society once he finagles his way into taking over Jamaica because he's going to get a big bonus for double-crossing everyone.
That kind of came out of nowhere. Like
It
that
actually made
he
me like him
wanted-
for a split second.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like, oh.
There
Well,
was,
no, I mean the fact that he was like ascribing to
Be a
be
governor.
the governor, like that kind of just was like all of a sudden out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It kind of gave his character a little bit more depth, so that it was interesting.
Yeah, definitely. They should have maybe done that like from the beginning.
Yeah,
maybe?
like he wanted some point of
like, yeah,
power
'cause-
instead of just money.
Yeah.
because it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was really sudden. It was like, oh, this guy has a dream, or
He has aspirations.
He's got goals. What? Okay then.
There was-
Clearly defined goals? Oh my god.
Instead of just a random notion, I think I'll be governor someday.
Yes.
There was one thing you noticed, Britt, was he had spurs. And
He did have spurs.
I did not notice
he
that.
had
No, me
cowboy
either.
spurs on his boots. And his... Did they even have those back then? Was the
Well,
first
yeah, the
thing.
Wild West was...
And then the
further back
second
than that.
thing was...
Why?
When was he ever on a horse? So when would they
True,
ever
why?
serve a purpose?
Well, there's
Right.
a lot of seahorse? I don't know. Bad joke.
But
Well, he had a cool sword. I wish they showed more of his sword. Like, gave it an intro, but like you actually look at the sword, it's all serrated
he
and
had a
crazy
sword
blade.
that I would expect to see in some really random, like, martial arts samurai movie
Or fantasy
some,
movie.
Some strange, like,
Some
anime.
supernatural pirate movie.
Yeah.
Like Pirates of the Caribbean,
Like,
you would think
I was expecting
Davy
him
Jones
to,
would have it.
I was expecting him to magically light it on fire.
That would have been funny.
I'm surprised they didn't give a scene where they actually look at it to make him look more menacing. Like, that's
Or have-
what the sword
have
was
him-
supposed to do.
Have him, like, taking time and cleaning it
Yeah.
one day menacingly in the cabin.
Instead of just waving it, threatening to swing at people, but then he doesn't.
Just all,
Right,
just
yeah.
all of a sudden, they're fighting. It's just, whoa! His sword is serrated. What's with that?
Yeah, it was kind of a poor use of that prop. 'Cause
Yeah.
that was really cool looking.
It
They
was.
could have been
Could have done
a little
more
bit
with
more
it.
creative with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually don't think they had anybody else in mind for that bad guy role.
No.
But he made me miss Barbosa.
He kind of reminded me of Billy Bob Thornton. Oh.
In what movie?
Not like his his demeanor or the way he was acting. I think just the way he looked
Oh.
kind of reminded me of Billy Bob Thornton.
That is very odd.
I don't know. It was weird and random thought. Just had to mention it. You're welcome.
Well, with him, what they had a lot of mutinies and like traitors in this movie. I think there was like 4 or 5 different traitors / mutinies / take over the ship and from someone else.
Yeah, I think it ties with Pirates of the
Yes.
Caribbean 3.
That's very true. What did we have? We had John Reed, the author, the big guy. He betrayed. We had Truder, who was a bad
Trotter.
guy. Trotter.
Tron.
who was the British soldier.
And that kind of came out of nowhere, too.
Yeah.
Not really.
You don't think so? You saw
When
that
did he
coming?
get treated bad? He never got hit. He might have been, like, talked down to, but he never really got disrespected.
And he didn't have...
To the point of, like, smacking him or saying, you're gonna die if you don't get them.
There's always that one character that, in the end, you're like, he's gonna join with the main character group in the end.
But they didn't, like, build up to it. There wasn't any kind of point where he was like, am I doing the right thing? You know what I mean? There wasn't any questioning of what he was doing. He just did everything that he was told to do.
When they were loading the gold back, his senior mentioned something that he was going to be taking all the credit and he'll feed him some scraps.
Yeah.
So,
that's what happened.
Trotter. That's how it goes. Something along those lines.
Yeah, but Trotter did nothing
But
to
they
actually
didn't even, like,
capture
respond
them.
to that. Like,
exactly, he
didn't.
didn't because he didn't follow through and deliver Gina Davis's character to earn that reward that he would have earned. It was...
So he failed and he's like,
the
I'll change
author.
sides.
It was the author that sent the pigeon to say, hey, we're over here, come get us. So...
And it was his superior that spoke with the author to establish all that. And the character tried in the beginning when they were on...
right.
Yeah. So in the end, he did nothing, really. You could have cut him from this movie and it would not have changed one bit.
I think he was in there to be more of a comedic role, but
he did look like Stifler.
Yeah.
I thought it was him at first.
But in the intro, it seemed like he was going to be the person that goes after Shaw. Like it would have been him and Shaw and his senior and more...
Yeah, they really didn't do that in this movie. They had, like, Dog had a lot of henchmen, like special henchmen. One had the crazy chain, the other one had the weird eye, and you thought there'd be some big finale with those guys, and it really wasn't. They all got taken out rather quickly.
Right.
Yeah, and kind of unsatisfactorily as well. Like, the one guy just kind of fell off the side of the boat.
Yeah, the guy with
like,
the
attached
hook hand.
to the anchor, yeah.
Yeah, the chain guy.
That was a pretty interesting fight because her quartermaster was fighting him and getting caught in the wheel and then having his arm broken.
That was one of the other guys. We thought that was pretty, like, whoa.
Yeah,
like,
that was pretty...
And then he put the guy's neck in
Yeah.
And then crack. Ooh.
And I almost felt like you needed to see more of those guys. They weren't in it very long.
I liked the quartermaster.
No,
yeah.
I liked him too.
So
I wish
did
they
I.
had done more with his character. I feel like
But
they
he
were
was
really,
barely there.
I was really
they were
sad.
really lazy with him. They didn't do much to develop him. It's just like, oh, well, so and so. It's your quartermaster. It's your decision. Who's going to be the captain? Oh, well, he picked you, so we'll give you a shot. Okay.
I was really sad when the guy had the gun pointed to his head. I was like, no, don't kill that guy. Because I thought he was cool. The guy, the quartermaster. The face paint or whatever he had on his face.
But I almost felt like they needed more in that movie of him. And the, what is it? Glass door? Glass
or something like that.
The
black guy?
The black first mate.
Yeah, I can't remember his name either. It's something strange.
But I felt like you needed more of them.
Glass
pool.
Why didn't you have more of them in the movie? And then, like, character beats with them, and they could have been...
They were there, but they didn't have
do anything
enough
with them.
Dialogue. It's just, here, hold this.
Yeah.
Or they're following them somewhere.
Yeah, they were just henchmen.
They're moving something. They're...
And they were
holding
like,
a rope.
They're like, okay. They almost literally knew what they were doing, that they wanted these guys to be known throughout the movie, but they didn't do anything with them because they're like, oh, he's the black guy. That's how I know he's there. And, oh, he has all the face paint. That's how I know he's there. Oh, the little kid. He's the only little kid. That's how I know he's there. They actually didn't give them anything to actually make them stand out except for their appearance, which is
they made
terrible.
a point of making them stand out, but then didn't do anything
with it. The little kid really didn't do much.
No, he didn't.
No, he
make
just kind of hid.
stand out.
Well, in the fights, I mean, he just kind of like
Yeah, you'd think there'd be a
Ran
character arc
ahead.
where he'd start fighting
Yeah.
well and being brave, but no, he just shanks that one guy in the thigh and then runs
that's
away.
about the only thing worthwhile he does is he keeps face tattoo guy from getting shot. in the
Yeah.
head.
And in that fight, like they zoomed in on him a couple times, so I thought he was gonna do something really like spectacular, but he didn't do anything. You know, I
Or
was
at least
sitting
something
there.
funny.
Yeah, like I was expecting something to happen, like he was gonna die or he was gonna turn on everybody or something, but nothing happened.
Yeah, some of those fight scenes were really strange. It seems like they were cut or filmed in a way where it was hard to follow them at
Yes,
some
like
point.
the cuts, the close-ups.
They were extremely close up, which is I don't know, I feel like kind of typical of the 90s a little bit. Extreme zoom in.
Well,
Focus on their faces.
Did you like the final fight with the two boats that were 5 feet from each other, both starboard?
That did
and
not take any damage.
yes,
Yeah.
they shot like 900 cannonballs. Neither one of them got hit.
Force fields. Force fields engaged.
The
they were
cannonballs
so
were
close
coming
to each
out at
other,
a
though.
right angle, just up and up.
Yeah, yep.
They were so close to each other too. Like you'd think it'd be too close to even shoot them.
No, that's how they did it back then.
You didn't want to
but
waste any
the
of those.
boats did not. They didn't show
Well,
the
these-
damage on the boats.
Yeah, the boats
Yeah,
were
they
getting
didn't show
littered
it.
with
It was
cannonballs.
The prop guys were just lazy.
Yeah, it was weird.
I don't
how
think it's
that
so much
happened.
that. I think it was just the budget, because they would have had to literally destroy that other ship.
Which they ended up doing, but I'll get
In
to
the
the budget
end.
a little later. I
Yeah.
want to keep talking about the action scenes in this, which you can see, like, there's two big action scenes, like the big pirate ship battle, which was very, very boring, I thought. Especially when
was.
they were just firing cannons for the first 5-6 minutes of it.
Yeah, the first action scene, which was
The horse.
the
No,
Yeah,
was
no.
that it?
The
was the-
carriage chase. It
Yes.
was from the prison, which led to
That was the
carriage
yeah,
chase.
that was the first major action sequence.
right. That was a little random, especially when they were going towards the port. They decided to just start randomly shoot cannons.
Killing
Yeah,
all
who
those
was-
civilians. We were like,
Yeah.
no.
Who was shooting the cannons? Was that the British?
Yes.
Are
Yes.
they just randomly shooting at civilians?
Yeah.
The British Armada just decided to just fire, shoot them, get them.
They wanted to kill all the fish vendors. And there must have been in this movie like 20, 30 fish vendors. Every scene when they went to a town, it was just they had a camera where it was pointed at a fish vendor at one
They
point,
had
and they
some-
kept following them.
They just had some really strange things in the background in an attempt to make it period accurate.
Oh no!
Like the funeral procession of
Oh,
the
yeah.
decaying church official.
But that was like a porcelain
was
doll
really
or something.
strange.
that was strange. Like, I get that shit like that actually happened back then, but
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, you could have used any.
They
that was
really
just,
don't do that in movies now. They
I think they used that same prop in Mortal Kombat when they went to the other world.
But that was just to make him so he's stuck going down the alley. But you could have just made a crowd of people there, and
Yeah.
instead of this weird like, we got a porcelain dead priest here. Because when it falls, it like breaks
cart.
apart.
Yeah, it's like
It breaks-
shattered, yeah.
And even then, it breaks apart in a way that it looks like it was ceramic or something because
Yeah.
it breaks open and there's nothing inside.
That was the Pope's head.
It's hollow and it's dust.
Yeah.
But that also brings me to the scene where I started laughing like crazy. At the final fight, did you notice there's just, when she boards the other ship and starts fighting, did you notice there was a guy with an eye patch and a fiddle? And he was just playing the whole time in the background.
No.
He's like
I
right in the
didn't
corner. And
notice either.
I was like, what the hell is he doing? And they're just fighting. And it's not like he's off in the background. Jenny and Britt, who are like maybe 6 feet total from me, and he's like sitting right here, and he's just fiddling away, and like he's going with the music in the background. So it was just so crazy. And then he's listed in the credits as well. He's Fiddleman. I was like, oh my god.
I saw that. I saw that in the credits. I'm like, okay, I guess there were some musicians somewhere.
And in the final fight, he's just sitting against the deck, just playing that fiddle like crazy. With the music, the soundtrack in the background. I was just like, what the hell is going on? But that was the funniest part of the goddamn movie.
What was the other thing in the credits? Oh, the dog. There was some sort of pirate dog listed in the credits.
As Thor. And
Yeah,
we're
Thor,
like...
the pirate dog. And we were
Was
like,
there a
when,
huge dog anywhere?
When did this dog happen?
I saw no dog in that movie.
I don't remember a dog at all in the movie.
I remember
a
a
with the
monkey.
exception, the dog I remember, there was a dog sitting with the British captain.
Yeah, the British
guy.
had a
But there's no way
King
that dog
Charles
was.
spaniel.
Yeah,
type
there's
of
no
I'm
way that
wondering
dog was
Thor.
named Thor.
If that was something that just was cut out in the...
Come along,
Could have been,
Thor.
maybe.
You could have
Yeah.
cut anything else out of this movie. Most of it. You could have trimmed the action because it's 2 hours long.
Yeah.
It does not need to be that.
It would have been a good hour and a half.
Hour, half, 45 minutes. You could have you could have easily done that and it would have made the movie move along instead of we're watching people walk down a hall, and that just got to me.
Yeah, we saw everything. They really wanted us to. I don't know what they were trying to do.
Except
It's
for
like
the action
they were-
scenes. Then we
right,
saw
yeah,
nothing.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
they were walking down the prison to meet with the guy, and they showed all of that. Walking down there, walking through the streets, walking up to meet the.
Well, they did
The-
a lot of that in the 90s, I believe.
Yeah, they.
Oh,
That was.
I can't.
And that part where she dressed as a whore to go up to see Mordecai, was that even necessary too? That was kind of silly. Remember how they were like, oh, they're not going to let you in to see
Yeah.
Mordecai. So she had to, pay some chick for her outfit and
Well, I
change
think
into
it
the
was-
outfit.
At that point, it was because she showed up literally in her underwear from her previous outfit. So she needed a change of clothing. So...
I got
Yeah,
the
but I like-
impression it was because it was her that she wouldn't be allowed up there and that she had to be disguised.
No, I
And
didn't.
that's why
I
they
didn't
did it
get
that
that she
way.
needed a disguise. I got that it was, well, she's running around in her underwear because she's in the under corset and bloomers, and she's.
Why didn't she just
you
change
can't
on the
just do
boat
that.
then?
They weren't in a boat. They
were in a
were in a
carriage.
carriage.
That
They-
rode all the way to the other island? They got back to the boat, and
no.
then they took her boat
No,
to
they
that
was
next
on the island.
It was
Oh.
on the same island.
Yeah.
Really?
They
Uh-huh.
arrived in the what was it? The commandant's carriage that they stole. Correct?
Yeah.
Huh. I
Where
thought they got on the
Mor-
boat and
where
then went
Mordecai
back.
was.
No,
No.
they rode the carriage to Mordecai.
Oh.
Stifflefoot or something, or
Yeah, Stiflefoot Island.
no.
Something like
Stiffleback or Stiffle something.
Or
Syphilis.
whatever it
Syphilis
was.
that.
Island.
Syphilis Island. Sure.
There was enough
No, but
hookers
it was
there.
definitely
Why
not. It was definitely not
But,
something they had to take the ship to.
Huh.
Well,
But then...
either way, she needed something that she could hide a gun on her person.
Yeah. And I like the one random guy. Didn't a random guy come up and oh, they'll never let you see him? Or
Yeah.
was it one of her crew that said
why.
that?
members.
That's
No.
why she took
Yeah,
the.
I'm
the
just saying
outfit.
that's just there to be oh, we're going to give you a reason to change.
Well, maybe
Yeah.
it wasn't they'll never let you see him. Maybe it was, they'll never
anybody.
let anybody
Yeah.
see him because he had guards posted.
Right.
Because it seemed like he didn't want to see anyone.
And then he ends up dying accidentally.
Yes, they knocked into him and shoved the sword into his stomach.
Dog had a sword menacingly against him,
Yeah.
like he wasn't really
wasn't really
gonna
going to,
stab
yeah.
him, and then someone jams into him and makes him accidentally
Yeah.
stab him because
Which
he
is-
grabs the guy later. You killed my brother and stabs him.
It's another terrible way to die in a movie.
Like,
Accidentally
You
dying.
killed my brother slash.
Yeah, but it seems like he did that, that was supposed to be laughter, that he did that, kind of a joke.
Yeah.
But then he's also done it Captain, we haven't taken on enough food. And then he just shoots the guy,
Yeah.
and it's less mouths to feed. And I was am I supposed to laugh at this?
Except
I was supposed to laugh at the other part.
Except he didn't do it in a lighthearted, offhanded.
Yeah, he did it,
offhanded way. He did
he
it
was
in
cold.
a pissed off, cold, oh fuck kind of way.
I think
Yeah.
that was to make him seem to be someone you don't argue with. Which, okay, you've established that. You established you don't argue anything with him. And then they just left it at that. They didn't really build anything for him, which was kind of disappointing. He was a villain that you could have some growth with, but the only thing you kept establishing was you don't argue with him, and he's the uncle.
I am
creepy
the
uncle.
uncle. Come to uncle.
Creepy uncle that makes her flinch.
Yeah.
Which she did one time, and that was it.
In
Like-
the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess
But
everything
he likes
happened.
to remind her that he makes her always made her flinch when she was little. Creepy uncle.
Yeah, I didn't get that. No, there wasn't kind of a. At least they didn't go to the vibe where it's like he wants to do his niece.
Yeah.
Like some movies nowadays would take that, like, oh, make him crazy incestuous relationship between them or something along those lines. Glad they didn't go that far dark.
Yeah, I think that would have been a bit too far.
But that led to the second action scene with the shootout between the two.
Oh, yeah, at the bar
Yeah.
with the moray eels. Because they could all live in a barrel that you just put in the middle of your
Sure.
bar.
Of course. That was a lot of explosions that was just random. Especially in the end where you had like little guns that just shot and then explosion. And then another shot, explosion.
Oh, yeah, when her
So-
crew came in and started blowing up everything with these little pistols.
So either that bar doubles as a bakery and they just have tons of barrels of flour lying
Well, you had that
around.
one guy who was the bartender who just had black powder on his side that he
that
ignites.
bar doubles as an armory and they've got lots of barrels of gunpowder lying around.
Oh, God, that reminds me
Oh
of
yeah,
something.
they did have gunpowder barrels.
Yeah.
'Cause
They had gunpowder, the bartender had,
and he was carrying it on the side of his.
All right.
and that's
so-
how he gets out.
So there you go. Really strange.
Everybody is a bomb
really
in the
strange
Caribbean.
bar. They've got tons of gunpowder lying around in there.
Yeah, the
Well, no,
Shaw guy like broke it.
everybody has a container of gunpowder, which is enough for your what do they call those little hand pistol things?
Muskets? Well, that's the rifle.
Well, I guess the mini muskets, but
Yeah.
they work in the same. They work and are loaded in the same way, and then you
Yeah.
have to cock it back, and you have to pour in the gunpowder, and then the wadding, and then the bullet. So you had to carry that with you.
Speaking of that, there was in the final scene when they're getting ready, the quartermaster, like they're all loading their pistols while they're chasing up for the dog's ship so they can have the final battle. Did anyone notice that the quartermaster was loading a freakishly weird handgun that had like 12 barrels?
Yes.
Yeah, it was cool.
He never used
He
it.
didn't
No.
use it. I was disappointed.
Never. I wanted to see like 10 people just get blown away.
I was like, I saw that. I was like, what the hell is he doing?
I
What
wanted
is that
to see
thing?
him use it, and
And he never
did.
used it.
And Gina Davis's character Morgan
Oh,
had a knife that
That split
randomly
into three.
split into 3 blades that reminded me of some kind of weird samurai ninja turtle type weapon.
Sorry.
And she never actually used it
She
in a
used
fight.
it. She
just-
like split it apart and
she
then
just
ran off, but then
carried
you
it
never saw it
around
again.
for a little bit, and it's just like, why do you even have that, and where'd you get it?
Yeah, why bring attention to it if you're not going to use it in some way?
It's almost
Oh,
as if
you know where else I saw something like that? They have
Besides
something like
the
that.
dog's sword.
No, they had a knife like that in Three Musketeers
Yes,
for some reason.
the big guy,
Is what it made
and
me
he
think
used
of.
it. He took it out and then he
Yeah.
broke somebody's sword with it.
He
So
used it, and I'm just like, oh, what are you gonna do with that? And then she did nothing, and I'm just like, oh, why?
yeah, like they had these cool weapons and such, and you never see them like come into any real play. Like you would expect him with that gun to be like, he's overwhelmed, he pulls it out and shoots like 6 guys with
Yeah.
one shot. Yeah,
I almost
like the
wonder
obvious thing you would do with it.
if the prop company was like, by the way, those weapons, we're expecting them back today. And they're going to be used for another movie, so you're going to need to use other weapons.
We got the Three Musketeers filming over there. Disney wants them. You have no right.
Exactly.
That
What-
would have been awkward.
Now, with this movie, I asked this question. Would it have been better for you if you hadn't seen the Pirates of the Caribbean movie beforehand? I'm not talking about 2 or 3, the first one, the one everybody likes. Would this movie be better, you think? Or would it stay the same mediocre thing that it is?
It would have, personally, would have stayed the same.
Really?
Yes. I say that because Pirates of the Caribbean was entirely different. It was supernatural. So the entire concept of Pirates of the Caribbean was you had ghosts, you had curses,
But you had the same thing.
You had Jack Sparrow, who was considered by all means a bumbling idiot, as essentially the main focus of the movie.
No, he wasn't in the first movie. It was Will Turner. He was a supporting character in the first movie. That's why the second and third, most people had a problem, because he came to the forefront, and a lot of people didn't like that because you got too much Jack Sparrow.
Right. But, like, the characters were entirely different. You had a more established love interest. Whereas in Cutthroat Island, you could tell that there were a love interest. Oh, no, they're going to let him die. Oh, you're being jailed. Oh, you're going to go in quicksand. Oh, okay, you're my love interest again. They didn't know how they wanted that to work. There was so much of a disjointment that it would be almost insulting to say that it was comparing it to Pirates of the Caribbean. The only thing I would say that they had in common, and as I was talking to Britt about,
bunch of people trying to find the same treasure.
People trying to find the same treasure, and monkey.
Yeah.
Monkey!
Except it was a good monkey this time, which made me miss Barbossa even more. I loved him in that first movie. He was great. But I might have appreciated this movie more if I did not see Pirates, because I've seen Pirates, and it was very surprising, and it was actually quite good. So you see how it could have been done, and this one like fails in every aspect, but I'm like unconsciously comparing it. I'm like, well, Pirates of the Caribbean did it better. And I see this one. Even though this one did it first, it's just like, whew.
The one thing I had going through my head when I was watching this, okay, so this was done in 95. It takes, I'm trying to remember when Pirates of the Caribbean came out. It came out...
I'm going to say like 2002 or something.
2000, it had to be early 2000, I think. But when did Disney decide to do Pirates of the Caribbean? And if they saw this bomb, if they decided we better not do a pirate movie anytime soon, because a lot of companies...
2003 it came out.
2003. I was close.
Because a lot of movie companies movies tend to come in twos. You had Armageddon, and then there was the...
Yes. Deep Impact.
Apollo 13?
Yep, Deep Impact.
But wasn't there a original Pirates of the Caribbean before this Pirates of the Caribbean?
Pirates of the Caribbean was based off of
the
Disney's
ride.
Amusement
Yeah,
park
but I
ride.
thought there was a movie.
You're thinking of maybe Treasure
I
Island?
don't think so.
I don't know. I feel like that there was another movie, like an original one.
Yeah, the only one I can think of that's coming to mind is Treasure Island. But I'm just wondering if Disney was planning on doing a pirate movie,
just based on the ride.
or if
What did they base the ride off of then?
They just made it.
They
just
made the
made
It
ride.
was a ride that was
pirate
cheap
ride.
that they could fit in that location.
I just thought that there was a ride, like that there was a movie that came from that
Well,
ride.
there's they use real skeletons in the Pirates of the Caribbean ride.
That's interesting,
I mean,
but not
they've
related
even-
to what we're talking about whatsoever.
They've updated the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disney.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
to
had
make it
Jack
more like a
Sparrow
film.
in-
Yeah.
Jack Sparrow in it, so...
And that's
I mean, they used a lot of the ride in that Pirates of the Caribbean movie from
they
2003.
use certain set pieces like the guy drunk in the pig pen and stuff like that, but not a lot.
No, there was a bunch of like even like in the some of the scenes where
Like, in the background, I guess.
yeah, where there was a lady like running around the
brothel.
Yeah.
But what about you with Pirates of the Caribbean in this movie? Do you think it affected your enjoyment of this movie, of Cutthroat Island?
I mean, I definitely did notice looking at some scenes and going, oh, pirates did do that. You know, oh, pirates did that too. And I definitely did notice myself comparing them. So maybe if I hadn't seen Pirates of the Caribbean, I wouldn't have had anything to compare it to. But, I mean, it's kind of hard to tell because this was done kind of really poorly I mean, I think I still would have had the same complaints about the action sequences and her acting and, You know, because I mean, even though I wouldn't have had an understanding of Pirates of the Caribbean and wouldn't have.
You wouldn't have seen the movie done right, but you know this one would still be bad.
But I would have still known what good acting was, is what I'm getting at. You know, like, I mean, even though I wouldn't have seen Jack Sparrow, you know, doing it as Pirates of the Caribbean, I would have still known that her acting was kind of mediocre and, like, half-assed.
What do you think the budget was for this movie?
So, I'm going to say maybe, and I'm trying to think because CG wasn't as prominent.
No, there's no CG. Well, there's a bunch of green screen shots when you're falling, but there's no CG in this.
Right. So a lot of the destruction, everything that happened, had to have happened.
Yeah, there was some speed ramping. That's the most I saw of.
Right. I'm going to say,
except for the fiddler, he was CGI because no one is that magnificent.
I'm going to say maybe 10 million.
Britt?
I'm really bad at judging the cost of things. I really have no idea what
shoot
it
a
would
wild
cost.
guess.
I don't. $1 million. I have no idea.
Okay, $1 million. You are the low bidder and Price is Right, you bastard.
What did you know say?
Don't
10 million.
10 million?
Don't you dare say 10 million one.
Price is Right, mother.
8 million? I don't know.
Jenny?
I can't guess. You already told me.
Estimates $100 to $125 million.
They made a lot of things explode.
It made $10 million.
Ouch.
This is the production budget.
Oh my god.
So their marketing and everything, add more money to it. But this movie killed a company. But there's actually a little bit of debate over that.
What company was it? Just out of curiosity.
Curiosity.
What studio made this?
So it's Carlico Films, I believe. They bankrupted it. This was like their final film, but they made Terminator, Terminator 2. They made some of the Rambo movies. They made Iron Eagle films, the Air Force ones. So they actually had a pretty good pedigree until this movie allegedly took them down. Now, the director, Rennie Harlan, actually stated that they were broke before this movie even came out. And he blames a lot of the marketing. Like, the marketing was very subdued in this, so they didn't spend a lot of marketing. And the director actually blames that for most of the failing of this movie. Do you think that's just deserved? Do you think if they promoted this more, would it made more money? I don't think it would have, really. I don't think it's that good of a film. Maybe it would have went up like a couple 10 million.
I think maybe they would have made back a bit more money. Maybe they would have made back 20 million. But do you think maybe they didn't market it as hard because they figured, well, we're not going to make back our money at this point. Why put forth the effort? Do you think maybe they decided not to market it as hard because it was a female lead?
That's what Rennie Harlan states, that they didn't have, like, the company was already bankrupt before this movie was finished filming, and that's why they had no money to actually distribute it. Even the copies we watched from, I'm sure you watched Instant Video, I bought the Blu-ray, which I kind of regret. Even that was distributed not by Carlton. Lionsgate bought the rights to the film and then threw it out again.
Lionsgate's like, oh, why did we do this? Get out.
Lionsgate grabs a lot of like the lesser known stuff and throws. Well, like they put out the Transporter movies. They put out all the weird, wacky movies, if you will.
So I guess one of the questions, this was the discussion that Brittany and I had, was in the 90s, how many male or female let me phrase that. In the 90s, how many movies had female leads that were not Demi Moore or
like action leads?
Demi Moore, Sandra Bullock, and
Gina Davis was a lot in the 90s. She did Long Kiss Goodnight, where she's an action star in that.
Gina
Davis. Did this. She did Thelma and Louise.
And I think there was one more.
Sigourney Weaver.
But then again,
actually,
other than that,
She was like the 80s
there
at that point.
really
Yeah.
wasn't a lot. And even then, that was it was like early 90s, mid 90s.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of those movies were, I guess, geared towards adult, like older adult.
Like, what kind of
'Cause-
genre would they be in? Like, I know there
Like,
wasn't many like this where it's
romance.
action adventure. Yeah.
It was romance, because just the one that we brought up was, okay, G.I. Jane. Who's going to see G.I. Jane? Okay, women, 30s and older.
Yeah, fans
Who's
of
going
Aragorn.
to see G.I. Jane? Your parents. Why? Because your mom wants to see it. That's why they're going to see G.I. Jane.
But did you think this movie does a service for women as like a main action star, or did you think this kind of...
It does,
it
especially
a little
since
bit.
it looks like she's doing a lot of her own stunts.
Yeah, I like Gina Davis, like I said before, in Long Kiss Goodnight. She does all her own stunts, and she's very good at it. But I think
Seems
this
like she was having fun doing it, too.
some of like the action scenes she looked like she was into, but the acting scenes, that was completely different.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like she was a little on the clumsy side on her action scenes.
But that could have been her character, too.
I suppose, or it could have been just the way it was directed, or just not very well done. I don't know. I didn't find her very believable as a active person that, like she seemed to struggle with some of the weapons and
that, and she
know.
also she is a woman, so she's not as strong as the men that she's fighting.
I
The fight
suppose.
scenes are also taking place on top of a moving carriage
Yeah.
and on a shifting rocking boat.
She looks like she's throwing punches just
So-
fine.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about, like, I mean, she had some sort of weird axe at one point, or maybe it wasn't an axe. Maybe it
She
was
had
like
the-
a...
She had a shovel.
Oh, yeah, it was a shovel, yeah. That she... I feel like, I mean, you probably would have maybe known how to use a shovel a little bit more effectively. And
She
maybe
kicked
could
ass
have
with it.
lifted the shovel a
She
little bit
swung it
better.
a little awkwardly, but
I just didn't think it was...
You also have to think.
I mean, you would think as a pirate, she would have a little bit more strength than the regular woman. That she was used to being in that kind of more active environment, that she would have more upper body strength, that she would be able to do that a little bit more effectively. And she
It
wasn't
depends on the props
She
that they're
was
using.
not
If you're,
very good at it, I don't feel.
I
if
feel
you're
like they
using-
actually handed her a real heavy shovel, and she kind of did struggle a little bit swinging it.
Because the last thing you want to do is actually injure the other person.
Yeah, so there is some trickery with camera angles to make that look more believable. Did anybody notice with that shovel, the last time she used, like the last swing she had, where she let go of it, did it seem to float in the air for anybody else, where it just kind of stopped and then just...
I didn't notice.
It was very weird. I thought I saw it like just levitate, like somebody had psychic powers or some shit.
Magical shovel!
So this was a good thing then that we had a woman. Would have been better as a male lead.
I think it would have been better if it was a more successful movie. I mean, not so much of a good thing if nobody saw the movie.
Well, yeah, I know.
How does that make it a good thing? It doesn't.
I never said it was a good thing.
No, you asked us if it was a good thing.
No.
That's what you asked us.
I think it would have been just another action-adventure movie if it had been
A male lead.
with a male lead.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have helped the movie as far as gaining back more money that it had spent and being more successful in the box office, because they didn't put forth the effort in
No, I don't
marketing,
mean like
but-
that. I mean like if it was dictated the beginning as, like if you had Gina Davis's role and
Shaw's role.
Shaw's role reversed, do you think the movie would have been better?
What do you mean?
Not
if
like-
he was a bigger...
If it followed his character?
I'm tempted to
Instead
say
of-
I'm tempted
No.
to say no, because then you're dealing with the damsel in distress nonsense.
Yeah.
Which he was basically in this movie.
Right. And I liked that it wasn't as much damsel in distress.
But not
That
quite.
she could handle herself.
Not quite, because he's able to handle himself in a fight fairly well.
He wasn't really
Kind
in
of.
any fights. He was just
He's
literally was running away.
He's
He was
adequate
doing
at running away
Yeah.
effectively, because it seems like he's been doing it for a while. But
That's what a thief does.
I don't know. I feel like if the roles were reversed, that they would have overplayed the damsel in distress card too much.
Yeah, you couldn't have gotten Gina Davis
Once the
in that
characters had met, they would have forgotten about the fact that, okay, it's a con person, they're used to running away and escaping, and okay, the skill set that they're used to would have dropped away, and oh, but she needs help, we need to save her from this thing that she got herself into.
Right.
Which
he was definitely like in character, I guess you would say, because when he was trying to go, like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I guess let's start over.
Okay, that's fine.
Kind of like she's saying, like, because he was using his wiles, and he was using, you know, he wasn't using brute strength because that character wouldn't have had that kind of thing. So, yeah, I think it would have been a bad thing to have him more of a stronger, trying to save the damsel in distress type of character, because it wouldn't have been believable given his character. He was, when he tried to save her, because he did legitimately try to save her and try to step in, but he was using his wiles. He was he cut the guy's gunpowder so that it spilled all over the place, and and lit it on fire. He was doing things like that where he was like tricking people, or and I think that was good that he had that role.
Yeah,
instead of a protecting the damsel in distress type of role.
No, but isn't he the damsel in distress in this movie? He doesn't fight really, doesn't know how to kill anybody. He gets captured. He gets in trouble with the quicksand. He gets pinned.
Captured too,
he gets pinned by the treasure where Gina Davis constantly has to save him. I think he's actually the damsel in distress in this movie.
He is,
he's gonna get executed.
He is a damsel in distress, but I think if it would have been a female as the damsel in distress, that they would have fallen into the stereotype of it being the more traditional love interest of having it be, okay, we need to really overplay and oversell this romantic thread throughout the movie now. And we need to have him, or we need to now have this character be captured and like really held by the bad guys, and like obvious that, oh my god, so much love between the two. I don't know. I feel like it worked the way it was.
I almost feel like it does have that standard mold of damsel in distress and main character. There's nothing wrong. I like her as the main character. I wouldn't change it, but it just feels that same generic stereotypes are there, just the genders are different.
Right.
Agreed.
Which is kind of refreshing.
But would you rather have not had those stereotypes? Maybe made them both capable.
Then you go into the question, who's the main character?
True. Yeah.
True.
I'm thinking the more I think about him, the more I don't like that guy, Shaw. I don't like him.
The one thing I find interesting,
It might have...
and slightly off topic, but since we're going on to the concept of flipping the characters around, this actually had a video game released out for the Super Nintendo, Game Boy, Game Gear, and Genesis.
Did they follow the guy around?
So, no, the cover art has him to the left, her to the right, him slightly elevated, so that it almost appears that he's the main character.
His face is slightly larger and more highlighted than hers. Hers is more in shadow.
That's actually the same as... That's the same picture.
So yes, it does seem like the spotlight is more on him, because the way the composition is, your eyes go to him first.
True, but here is the Blu-ray cover. Kind of the same thing. It's more updated because Lionsgate got it. But, yeah, the thing...
Now, looking at this, my eyes want to go to Gina Davis first.
Oh, she's a lot better looking.
Because the way the lighting is, her face is brighter
But
in
with-
the picture, but
I think that had to do with
on
billing.
the picture of the
Video
game cover, my eyes want to go to his face first.
Yeah, that's the
because
same
the
one as
lighting
the
lighting is brighter for him.
Yeah.
Yes, that photo.
this, which is the one that was released in. It's the theatrical poster, but I think this is to do with like billing because they're both billed as co-stars, but like he's first, she's second, but in the billing up top, she's first, he's second. I think that's a way they made it so they could both get kind of first billing, but not
Which
kind
I
of like to
think is-
share that.
Which I think is a little misleading because then it makes you think that they're equal, but in the movie they
They're not.
definitely were not.
That's-
He was a supporting character, not a
Definitely.
co-star.
But I think that because he was hired as a main because that was meant for Michael Douglas. So for that, they like Michael Douglas had written probably to offer to him like you're going to be a co-star, not a supporting character. So I think that is just a byproduct of that bigger name star.
Yeah.
I'm sure if they wrote
So
this
what,
movie,
you think maybe that they cut some of his stuff?
yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I think that if they had him in mind from the beginning, he would have been
He would have been billed as a
supporting character
supporting
completely.
character.
Because I don't like him. I almost feel like the movie would be better without him, and it would just be her with the crew.
or less of him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like he might have started off as one of the crew, and you could have shortened the movie as you do that as well. Like get rid of the little kid and have him there instead.
Right, because when you think about it, and this is an interesting concept, if you were to take a character out of a movie, what impact would they have? So, let's say you have an entire pirate ship, and this is in the 1600s, or I think the 1600s.
Yes.
You have an author. I'm sure that author on board has to have some kind of knowledge of Latin. He is an educated person. If, let's say, he had the ability to translate that map, what else did Shaw bring to the movie?
Nothing.
Not necessarily. It could have been I guess their equivalent of a middle-class person where they've learned to read and write in English, but they have not had any formal training in other languages, and they've gone off on their own and decided that I want to make this my career because I do not want to follow my family's tradition of barrel making or blacksmithing, and I'm gonna be a writer, screw you dad type of thing.
Yeah, but they never went into that.
Yeah, exactly.
So the only thing I could have seen him was to be you had
but yes, that would have been an easier way of saying, well, look, we have a guy that reads Latin. Here we go. And
Or just
you
make the
could've-
map in backwards English, so then
Yeah.
she just has the epiphany, like, oh, they're backwards,
right.
like she does
Yeah.
with the coordinates on it, which I still don't understand that part.
The first
The
coordinates,
Yeah.
the Psalms. Where did they get the Psalm numbers?
I have
Because
no idea.
Who's
But
what?
there was something written on the side of the
I know
map.
the palmistry sign that she sees is what triggers her to remember
That the Psalms,
Psalm numbers, but who mentions them in the
He
first place? I missed.
It was
that
on the
part.
map.
It
That's
was
what
on
he-
the map.
That's what he wrote.
Those were the things that he was reading on
It
the
was
map.
very confusing because not only is it backwards, I think the
Ah.
Latin is actually backwards.
Okay.
Like, I thought just the words were backwards, and then his character was completely pointless, but it turns out that the Latin on there was backwards.
Gotcha.
Or at least that's what I thought.
Okay.
'Cause they
It
were
was not
reading
explained
it-
well.
They were reading it in the reflection of her sword, which again probably is partly the maybe acting part of all that too. Like it wasn't delivered well, and it wasn't.
It wasn't explained
Oh,
well.
it wasn't
So
explained.
The Latin that was written on there were
I think everything.
were Psalms.
Yes.
Okay,
And he was reading it
that's
to
what
her.
I didn't get. That's what that was.
It
and
was
that's
very-
where the numbers came from. Okay, I'm not a church person. I don't know what the hell that was.
Did anybody else get
I'm
kind
not
of...
either. I just happened to remember him saying that.
I didn't pick that up. I was paying attention, but I didn't.
I
didn't
I don't
hear
even
that.
know right now if I know exactly how that map worked.
I was paying attention, but I did not hear
And there
that's where
happened
those numbers
to
came
be
from.
something on each map like that, like a weird psalm or like
Yeah.
a weird quote, and there happened to
I
be on
got
each
that
map.
because I
There's a
remembered
pattern.
the second one, the wooden one, where the letters corresponded with a Roman numeral
Yeah.
on the cover of the book.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, I didn't understand
the
that
first-
either. What
the
was that
first one
book?
was strange.
That was just a notebook.
It was a diary.
And
Oh.
it just happened. It had a date on the front in Roman numerals,
Yeah, I
but it
didn't
made
understand
him
that.
think to look at the numbers.
But was anybody else skeeved out whenever she pulled out the map? I'm like, that's her dad's scalp.
Yeah.
Keep that in your underpants.
Yeah, right
Yeah.
there, right in her crotch.
Keep it in your bra. Come
Yeah.
on, that's an easier place to get
And it's
to.
wet. It probably smells.
Just like,
just
Yeah. It's gross.
like, just take that piece and just pencil it out on some paper, girl.
That
Come
was
on,
that,
get a bag and tie it to your belt or something.
I
Or
am a-
put it in a bag and then put the bag in your bra.
I am
Come
a little
on.
disappointed that she didn't say to Shaw's character, "Oh yeah, this is my dad's scalp," because
Yeah.
he would have just been like, "Yeah, I'll do whatever you say now.
Or, like,
I'm not
maybe-
gonna cross you, lady. I'm gonna do whatever you say."
that
Or-
was essentially, I think, their way to have sexual innuendo setups.
Well, yeah, that's true. I could be there. I wish she meant, maybe even when, you could have used that as some type of character beat for Gina Davis when she put out the map. Maybe she looks kind of sad at it, or it's depressed, but it's like her dad's head, and she's just meh.
hard. Yeah, it would have been better if it was difficult for her to look at or handle whenever
Yeah.
she had to pull it out, because it is your dad's head and you had to skin it.
Yeah.
And cut it off.
But yeah, she kind of tosses it around like it is a normal piece of paper.
Yeah.
So that's a bit strange.
A little bit.
What is this, pigskin? And she just kind of stares at him like, maybe.
Well, he wasn't that ill-mannered. But who played in the video game?
Both.
Oh, you got to play as both?
Yep, you could alternate between both characters. It wasn't following anything. It was based, of course, off the movie.
Yeah.
However,
You could be either or.
Yeah.
Well, that's neat.
The levels did not determine what character you played. So you could have been the one to go and you could have been Shaw and saving Morgana's dad or something like that.
Alright, so...
Or fighting Dog at the end. So he would have contributed more in the video game than he did in the movie.
Alright, I think we're down to about the last question. And it is, why do you think the bad guy, the uncle, was named Dog? Do you think it was just for that last line of the movie?
No, his name was Doug.
I thought it was Dog.
His name was Doug, but his dog was a nickname.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
Yeah, they said Doug. They said,
Okay.
Did they?
I
Yeah.
didn't catch
now I
that.
gotta-
If they said it, they might
They
have
said
said
Doug
it.
one time. Uncle Doug, they said.
They might have
Dog.
said it once,
But
and I
he was
missed it.
Doug.
But yes, he was billed as Dog, D-A-W.
Yeah.
He was billed as that, but
Credits.
they said Uncle Doug at one point. In one of the scenes, they said Uncle Doug.
That I did not pick up on.
Her other uncle or her dad may have said Uncle Doug.
I'm wondering if that was actually a misinterpretation because
No,
hunts down her uncle and fellow pirate, Dog Brown. So I'm wondering if it was actually supposed to be Dog, but they just said Doug.
Or it could have
and
just been
nobody caught it.
a slip-up on just...
Could
she
have-
didn't enunciate
Could
enough.
have been, I don't know, but it said in the subtitles Doug as well.
Really?
It did. I swear to God it did.
Because I'm going through the synopsis here.
And it makes sense if his name was really Doug and Dog was just like a nickname, you know.
Well, that would be confusing. Why not just take that Doug out? Because they
It
didn't...
does make sense, but even still,
Could have
that's
been-
weird. Why didn't Mordecai have a nickname? Why didn't Henry have a nickname?
Or why didn't
Well, they
Gina
weren't
Davis...
the bad guys. Only
But
bad
they're
guys
still-
get nicknames.
Technically, they are bad guys. They're all pirates.
Oh, well, that's true.
But why didn't they...
Could have been Henry the Red and Mordecai the whatever the hell.
But if
I
they
don't know.
say Uncle Doug once, why didn't like Morgan, Gina Davis, like kind of make fun of him for it. Like saying, come on, Doug. Like somebody do that to rouse him up, not be like, oh, we're just going to throw it away casually in this one scene. Like you would think you would bring it up more and like piss him off.
I think he said Uncle Doug actually.
Oh.
When he was saying about how she flinched, I think that's when he said it. He said something like, you always flinched around your Uncle Doug or something like that.
I think that was just him being enunciated. Maybe the subtitles can do that too. But it's rare.
Yeah, subtitles are written by people based on what they hear, so they don't always have a script.
Well, I don't know. It sounded like Doug to me. And...
I believe you about the subtitles. Like half the time I was paying attention.
But that's interesting.
Oh, look up the line. Maybe the quote's in there somewhere. I don't know.
They should have used it more.
I agree.
I missed
like
that
making
part.
fun of him, calling him Doug.
Yes, that would have been hilarious.
To get a rise out of him.
What are you gonna do, dog?
Maybe it's in the trivia.
But I thought his last name, just for that last scene where she's like, bad dog, and kills him, I thought that's the whole reason his name's Dog. For that 2-second line.
I was almost surprised that with all the other bad puns that were in the movie, that there weren't more dog puns for dog. That it was the only dog pun.
Yeah, no one made fun of him for that.
Mm-mm. Or we would have assumed with someone the name of Dog, he would have had more dogs on his boat or something like that.
Maybe that's what Thor was.
Dog.
Maybe that's where Thor came in.
Where was Thor? Did Thor get cut?
He might have gotten cut.
Did he
Out
end
of all
up
the
on the
things you could have
production room
cut.
floor?
All right, so I think we can wrap this up. But as always, I'd like to ask 2 questions. And I'm going to start with you, Britt.
Sure.
If you could change one thing in the movie, can't be something huge like a recast or anything, but something small in the movie to make it better for you, what would it be?
I think it would have been the way the fight scenes were conducted, the filming and the explosions. I think the explosions were extremely larger than they needed to be at a lot of points.
Oh, that reminded me of one thing.
And I think the fight scenes were zoomed in closer than they needed to be, so close that it was difficult to follow what was going on sometimes.
Jenny?
For me, I think it would have made the movie better, honestly, to have paid more attention to the details in the movie that they just skipped right over. They skipped over so many things. They never explained half of the things that they, like the gun with the things, like, if some of those props had been used and, like, maybe if they had been more of, like, for comedy relief or whatever, the movie would have made some sort of sense. Like, I didn't know if I was supposed to be laughing at this movie. Like, is this movie supposed to be comedy satire? Like, what the hell is this movie supposed to be? Am I supposed to be taking this seriously as a pirate movie? This is like, I don't know. It was so confusing what they were trying to build this movie as and put this movie out as.
So what you're saying is you don't like the film?
I don't know. Like, I enjoyed parts of it, but it was so confusing what it was supposed to be. If it, like, because like we said before, sometimes we were laughing at things and then we were like, we didn't laugh at things again for like a whole hour. So it was like, was it supposed to be like a bad B movie, Was it supposed to be one of those like B movies that you're supposed to watch and have fun with it and make fun of while you're watching it? I don't know. Like, it almost seemed like they wanted it to be a serious movie. But I just think there was so many things that they could have done better that there's just no way to pick something small and insignificant and specific. Because there were so many different things.
Okay. Janos, what would you change? Something small, so no directors, no actors, just something small that would make it more enjoyable for you.
And this is going to go pretty much with what Britt said, was have the action scenes toned down a little bit. There was a lot of action going on that was unneeded, that could have really shortened the amount of time of the movie, and two, give that time to do character build.
There's a lot of action for the sake of action.
See, mine falls in the same realm, kind of as everyone else's, but there's scenes in particular. The evil British general that makes the deal with Dog. I wanted him to have some type of like big ending, like for him to get his comeuppance.
Yeah, I wanted
but in the
something bad
movie,
to happen
he just kind of blows up in the background. That's all that happens to him.
He disappears behind a wall of fire.
Yeah, you don't
him
see what
again.
happens to him. I was
a lot
expecting
of the characters did.
a lot of main characters. Like a lot of big bad guys. Some of the henchmen that like were made to look unique so you could spot them. I wanted them to actually get a proper ending. Like they get hung. The British captain gets hung like he wanted to do to Shaw in the movie. I wanted something like that because them to just be killed without any comeuppance is just like, oh, that's just kind of abrupt and kind of like, why don't they, like, you made such a big deal out of these people, why didn't they actually get a proper villain's death instead of just like, oh, just forget about him, blow him up with some of the other peons. And like they don't even draw attention to it. Like you just see him blow up and like, Britt, you seem surprised that he died like that. It's like, oh yeah, he did die, didn't he?
Yeah, it happens so abruptly, and the explosion is so large, and it just completely fills the screen, just this giant wall of fire, and you see him just
the actor
disappear
died
behind it, and you're like, oh wow, that's a lot of fire.
I didn't even notice that he died.
Yeah, I was like, aw.
That it happens so quickly you don't notice exactly who it is. It's just, oh, okay, that was a redcoat that died.
Yeah. It should have been Shaw that killed him in the end, like hanging him somehow. That's what I was expecting, and no, it's just done. Bye.
Shaw didn't really seem to get any
big action, no.
Big moments where he killed somebody.
Yeah, he is the damsel of in distress in this movie.
He spent that whole last scene in like.
Yeah, what happened to him at that last
Shaw
scene?
didn't really seem like the type that would want to kill somebody. He seemed like he would rather negotiate to be able to escape unharmed himself.
He used his words than anything else.
Use your words.
All right, and the last thing is, would you put your phone down to watch this movie again? If you had to watch it in like a week's time. I would be playing on my phone the entire time.
I was on my phone most of the time.
I was watching it, so I didn't notice that you were playing with your phone.
Let me rephrase that. In the first hour, maybe, I was paying attention. And then once they were on the island, and I knew that, all right, well, we need to have Dog show up. We know the pigeon was sent out, so we know we're going to have the British show up. And they've just now found the treasure. Okay, there's still a lot of unanswered stuff. I know because it's pirates. There needs to be a cannon fight. A ship needs to explode. I even said, so, I wonder when they're going to jump off the ship with the explosions in the background. Ah, there it is.
There you go.
It became
an hour after you think it should happen, like when they get on the island, you're like, okay, it'll happen in the next 15 minutes. Nope, you have to wait an hour.
Yeah, that's essentially when my phone just opened up, and I'm like, oh, okay. New NVIDIA cards and everything else.
Jenny, I think you'd be...
I had to hide my phone so that I didn't play with it the first time. I had to hide it under a pillow or something so I wasn't tempted to play with it. Because there were moments where I was like, I can't believe that I have to, pay attention to this.
I watched it. I enjoyed it. I didn't feel the need to play with my phone.
But would you play with it the next time? Like if you had to watch it in a week? I don't think you answered
within
that.
a week?
Yeah.
Probably. I might grab it every once in a while just to, if I got a text message or something, or if I felt the need to look something up for some odd reason. But I wouldn't sit there the entire time scrolling through Facebook while I'm watching the movie. So, yes and no.
So, in agreement, this, it almost deserved to be a bomb. It's like, it was not worth the money they spent on it. It deserves
to be a bomb because they wasted money in a lot of places. Like, honestly, wasted it in a lot of
You could not see
places.
Where that $125...
I know exactly where they went. Kaboom! is where they went.
Yeah, if they had changed a lot of those action sequences, they probably would have maybe saved a little bit of money in the long run.
A lot of money in the long run.
Yeah, definitely. And it's almost a shame, really, that it was such a bomb, because it could have been, like we were alluding to before, I mean, it could have been really kind of revolutionary as far as, having lead actor, like lead woman, in an action movie like this that, we didn't really see a lot of that at this time, in the 90s. Wasn't a lot of that. Lead women, lead actresses were usually in comedies or like romance movies,
Not an action film.
Romantic comedy.
Yeah, and I mean, had this been more of a popular movie, maybe more movies would have come out with a lead woman as a, some sort of action star.
Yeah, so in the end, it was disappointing.
But no, I think part of the reason why I enjoyed it so much is just I was able to not compare it to Pirates of the Caribbean. I was able to disconnect from Pirates of the Caribbean and keep in the back of my mind that this was from the 90s. This was okay, no good CGI existed. It happened.
It's all practical.
It happened in this time period. It's practical and
disappointing.
Yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. Enjoy it. I was actually expecting it to be a hell of a lot worse, so I was pleasantly surprised.
I guess I was expecting it to be like a satire kind of movie, and it just...
It took itself completely seriously.
Yeah, if that was the intention, it was a really bad satire kind of movie, because the lines were not funny. I mean, there were a few, there were some small lines here and there that were funny, but there wasn't anything satire-y about it, and that's what I was expecting going into it.
Now, when you told me that it how awful it was and it made no money in the box office, I was kind of dreading watching it. I was like, oh, this is gonna be awful, and it's gonna be terrible. My expectations were bottom for it, and I'm just like, oh, this is pretty good. It's not that bad. I don't know what you guys are complaining about. I've seen a lot worse.
But we've seen a lot better.
I liked it.
I think we'll end it there. We've got a decent amount of talking about Cutthroat Island, but a little bit of it. Yeah. I thank you all for joining. If you want to reach out to us, give us some advice, have a request, please visit us on Twitter at STMTWT and on Facebook /STMTWT. And finally, if you want to reach us by email, find us at STMTWTpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you and take care.
What the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to?